Spaced repetition. This method is built around reviewing information at increasing intervals over time. It comes from early memory research in psychology, where scientists found that the brain forgets things in a predictable pattern unless they are revisited. Instead of cramming, you return to the material just as you are about to forget it. Over time, this strengthens long-term memory and reduces the effort needed to recall the same information later. Active recall. This technique focuses on pulling information from memory without looking at the source. It has been widely used in modern learning science because it directly trains retrieval, which is what exams actually test. Rather than rereading notes, you try to answer questions, explain ideas, or write what you remember. The difficulty of recalling something is what makes the memory stronger when you finally get it right. Pomodoro Technique. This method breaks study time into short, focused intervals, usually around 25 minutes, followed by a short break. It was developed in the late 1980s as a way to manage attention and reduce mental fatigue. The structure helps prevent distraction by making focus feel time-bound and manageable. Over longer study sessions, it creates a steady rhythm that keeps the mind fresh without overwhelming it. Feynman Technique. This approach is based on the idea of teaching a concept in simple language as if explaining it to someone who knows nothing about it. It is named after physicist Richard Feynman, who was known for his ability to simplify complex ideas. When you struggle to explain something clearly, it reveals gaps in your understanding. By refining your explanation, you gradually build a deeper and more structured grasp of the topic. Cornell note-taking. This system organizes notes into structured sections, typically cues, main notes, and summaries. It was developed at Cornell University to help students engage more actively with lecture material. Instead of writing everything passively, you process information as you write it. Later, the cue section helps you test yourself, while the summary forces you to compress the meaning of the entire page into a few clear lines. Interleaving Practice. This method involves mixing different topics or types of problems within a single study session instead of focusing on one at a time. Research in learning science has shown that it improves problem-solving ability because the brain must constantly adjust to different contexts. Although it can feel harder at first, that difficulty builds stronger connections between concepts and improves long-term retention. SQ3R Method. This reading strategy stands for survey, question, read, recite, and review. It was designed to make textbook learning more active and intentional. You begin by scanning the material, then turning headings into questions before reading in detail. After that, you recite what you remember and finally review it to reinforce understanding. It slows reading down, but it makes comprehension far more reliable. Elaborative Interrogation. This method involves repeatedly asking why a fact is true and trying to explain it in detail. It comes from cognitive psychology research on meaningful learning, where understanding is strengthened through connections rather than memorization. By questioning each piece of information, you force your brain to link new knowledge with existing ideas. This makes recall easier because the information has more context to attach itself to. Practice testing. This approach relies on using tests not as evaluation tools but as learning tools. It has been studied extensively in educational psychology and consistently shows strong effects on memory retention. Instead of waiting for exams, you actively test yourself using questions, flashcards, or mock quizzes. Each attempt at retrieval strengthens memory and helps identify weak areas that need more attention. Chunking. This technique organizes large pieces of information into smaller, meaningful groups. It is based on how working memory naturally handles limited amounts of data at a time. By grouping related ideas together, you reduce mental load and make complex material easier to process. Over time, these chunks become familiar patterns that the brain can recognize and recall quickly without effort. Pareto Principle. This idea comes from the observation that a small number of causes often create the majority of results. It is commonly known as the 80-20 rule because economist Vilfredo Pareto noticed that a large percentage of land in Italy was owned by a small portion of the population. In studying, the principle is often used to identify the small set of topics, habits, or resources that produce the biggest improvement. Instead of trying to master everything equally, students focus on the concepts that have the greatest impact on understanding and performance.